What you see before you is an assessment plan template. Okay, I have provided templates for the assessment plans and the assessment reports for our school. The reason is twofold. First, faculty requested them. A side effect of the faculty requesting these particular templates resulted in the second reason, which is uniform assessment documentation actually produces a sense of organization while making it easier to read our documents. So if you need to go back and look something up, because the documents are uniform, anybody who is used to these documents will be able to get to what they need in terms of information rather quickly. Every 3 years, we have to submit an assessment plan that details our assessment intent for the 3 coming years. So what you're going to do is use this particular template. Okay, it's called the assessment plan template. You're going to name it whatever you need it to be named. All right, it'll reflect your program, but you're going to adjust the title. All right, so up here, whatever your program name is, go ahead and put that in that spot. Here is going to be whether it's a degree, what type of degree it is, or whether it's going to be a certificate of achievement. So if this was going to be an assessment plan for a certificate of achievement, you would just go COA for certificate of achievement. On the start year, what you're going to do is you're going to put in the actual academic year that the plan is going to be addressing. So if it was 2012 through 2013, you would write it like that. You would also include the finishing year, which might be 2015 to 2016. In the past, in the plans that I've created, I've never included the mission statement, but I noticed that some folks in the Applied Technologies department did include a mission statement, and I actually think that's a really good idea because it becomes easy to see the connection between the mission statement and the program outcomes. If all of your outcomes begin with the same thing, such as graduates of this program will be able to, then what you want to do is place it above the outcome list. Then complete your outcome as a single item. Okay? If your outcomes are in the process of being changed and the data you are collecting are based on the new outcomes, then you will need to include a section called New Working Program Outcomes, which is what I did right here. If not, then you can just erase this entire section and not use it. Providing the old outcomes as well as the new outcomes in our assessment plans will help us to establish a record of outcome change in our programs, which currently we don't have. This is beneficial as it shows that our programs are growing and respond to needed change. Under the direct measure of learning, we want to include a brief description of your direct measure of learning. That is, how are you collecting the data that will prove that the outcome is being met? Direct measures assess student skills or knowledge directly. A direct measure of learning can be a project with an assigned rubric. It can be an expanded checklist or even a general checklist. It can also be a standardized test. If you want to find out more information, see http://dbroderson/primer and pick the topic checklists, expanded checklists, and rubrics. And if you want to see the definition of direct measure of learning, you can also go over to the glossary. Fact is, I've even brought those up. If I just pop this over here, you can see that I've clicked on here, checklist, expanded checklist, like so. And you can scroll through all of these different ideas for developing rubrics to be able to measure your outcomes. Optionally, you may include indirect measures of learning. Now, there's been some confusion between a direct measure of learning and an indirect measure of learning. Some people believe that the direct measure of learning does not include a standardized test. In truth, it does, because, again, it directly assesses a student's knowledge or skill. We're getting that information literally directly from the student. So we call it a direct measure of learning. So then what is an indirect measure of learning? Well, indirect measures do not assess skills or knowledge directly. They usually come in the form of a survey given to a student asking their opinion of a program and whether or not they believe they have learned anything. Other indirect measures of learning can be an employer's or another person's opinion on whether or not the person of interest knows the subject material or soft skills. And what I mean by the person of interest is the student. who's taken the program. Once you've included your direct measure of learning and your indirect measure of learning, now it's time to go ahead and create your multi-year action plan. What you can do is you can say first year or simply say first academic year, whatever way you want to do it, but include the dates, okay? Outline what you want to do in that academic year. Do we want to revisit our course outcomes? Do we want to create new courses? What exactly do we plan to do? How do we plan to assess? In the first academic year, you may not be making any changes whatsoever, so you can say that your plan is to implement certain rubrics in certain classes, okay? And of course, you do the same thing with the second academic year. If you have any questions on how to fill out the academic years, set up an interview with myself or the other folks that are helping with assessment, and we can help you to identify exactly what you need to write in these areas. At the bottom of the plan, you may include a rubric. I know that some folks have done this in the past, but I know also that many people have not included a rubric, largely because the rubric wasn't developed. So it's kind of up to you. However, you will be using rubrics in your assessment reports.